everyone, welcome to the Shantz presentations for 2024. For those of you that aren't familiar, our MFA program has a unique feature, which is based on a funding that came from an endowment that came from Keith and Wynne Shantz, and that is our Shantz International Research Scholarship. So our cohort, every spring term, they get to go choose an artist that they would like to work with anywhere in the world, and they're funded to go and do this for 4 to 6 weeks. So this year's cohort, we have 5 students that are presenting today. I'd like to thank the Shantz family for their continued support for the Fine Arts Department here at the University of Waterloo. We're eternally grateful for that. And so again, we have our 5 cohort that are going to talk today, but also I wanted to put a nod out to Lois Anderson, who's shaking her. I don't know to come up. Lois is currently on sabbatical, but Lois was the associate chair graduate last year. So she is actually the person who helped the students organize their Shantz presentations this year. So
yeah, it came last minute to the Shantz. I think I'm suffering separation anxiety. It's really hard for me to come to the school because this is actually my last term. I'm not going to be here from after this, which is probably going to reduce me to tears, but after this term. So my partner had a stroke and it's been hard since. And I think, life goes on in a different way when that happens. So that is just a little bit about me, but today isn't about me, it's about the Shantz. And the amazing thing about the Shantz is it's such a transformative experience for the students. They get to see the world in a whole other way, meaning they get to travel to really interesting places, but they also get to enter an art studio, be part of an artist's life, perhaps even live with the artist, or have a place where they can be close to the artist and then connect with them at their studio. And it's supposed to be, an aspect of a mentorship, not pedagogical, a pedagogical experience. It's so unique, and I think it's a gem, as we always say, of a program. Mm-hmm. And so Cora has the opportunity this year to work with this new group of students who I haven't met, only maybe through Zoom or through email. And yeah, I think it's amazing. So really looking forward to the students presenting today. And I hope it was as good as I think it was for you. Thank you, Cora. Thank you.
5 graduate students that will be presenting today in alphabetical order, but not necessarily in the order in which they will be presenting. Brianne Gethin, Jordan McDonald, Azadeh Pirasimian, Paige Smith, and Cree Tiley. Our first presenter will be Azadeh Pirasimian. So one last thing. They're going to present, and then we'll do questions at the end after everyone has presented.
Okay. Sorry, this is such an emotional day. Okay. Thank you for everyone for coming today here. So sorry, I think the presentation, there is something on the screen. Can I catch it? I'm not sure what is it. Because I don't see my, like this is, So before I begin, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the Kate and Win Shantz International Research Scholarship for this life-changing opportunity. As someone who is fascinated by places, landscapes, and the extension of our borders, the chance to study abroad and explore new horizons has profoundly impacted my art practice. And I'm really, truly thankful for this experience. I would also like to thank the entire faculty of the Fine Arts Department for their hard work, especially Louis and Deason. Louis, sorry, I should edit this because I said, although not here today, you were here, but has patiently guided us through the process to ensure our success. Lastly, I want to acknowledge my presence as an immigrant settler on this land, which belongs to so many indigenous nations who were here long before us. I've made a commitment to myself to listen, learn, and respect the history and culture of these nations every day that I'm stepping on this land. Today, my presentation will have three main parts. The first part is the introduction of my mentor artist. The second part would be influence of the Shantz Scholarship on my research methodology and conceptual growth. And the last but not least, future direction in my practice. But before moving in this, like the presentation, I would like to just give you a little bit content, to give you a little bit context how my further, sorry, I'm so nervous. It's so hard for me to do it, but I try my best. So on how my further contents relate to my take from my Shantz experience, specifically in this context of expanding and reclaiming my space. During my time in London, I was fortunate to have ample space and time to explore the city. As someone who identifies herself as a wanderer, I embraced the opportunity to walk and immerse myself in this urban landscape of the city of London. I traversed many different parts of the city, exploring streets, canals, and its inhabitants, the river and its hidden corners. I tracked my steps and documented my destination in a drawing, which you see in this slide. During that time, I really engaged with a lot of visual and reading materials as well that you're seeing, like that book, The Other Side, giving me some context of how I wanted to further that moment to my research that I was doing. And then I actually had this physical map in my room that every time that I wanted to walk, it was basically open in my room, and that I could just, it was more tangible for me to find my destination. So the experience I gained from this exploration have actually significantly influenced the context of my upcoming works, reflecting my connection to the new places in order to reclaim my space. I also have engaged a lot with, as I said, with the reading and visual materials, which really helped me to understand that specific moment, or I can say the situation that I was in. But the other slide that I want to present to you is about the artist that actually I was working with during my stay in London. So that image of the artists, Ruth Gibson and Bruno Martelli. So the best description of their work that I could find was in their website. I just brought it and then I'm sharing with you. The artists actually, their practice usually is blending video game elements and figure and landscape traditions to explore the self's role in various contexts. They use machine learning, live simulation, performance capture, and moving images to create immersive virtual experiences, investigating the interplay between players, performers, and visitors, which actually the contents that really was interesting for me was this topic of figures and landscapes that I'm so interested. At the same time, this interactivity between audience and performers or the art piece was another elements in the work that I wanted to work with. Also, the pictures that you're seeing here are the still image of the films, and also some of the pictures that I actually was responsible for documenting when they were rehearsing in their studio. These are the performers that they were working during the time that I was working with them. I was some sort of lucky to see all of the process. Yeah, this is what I'm sharing with you is all those pictures. So during my Shantz, I had also the opportunity to observe and learn from Ruth and Bruno as they worked on their pieces in the studio. Although our collaboration, I can say, was less structured, this open environment allowed me to gain valuable insights by observing their work process, as I said, and engaging with their work independently. Witnessing performers while I was in charge of shooting videos, documenting the process, as well as making sketches, these bodies, while they were warming up, was particularly enlightening because through this observation, which was very important, that was a very important moment for me. I recognized the importance of physicality and the interplay between body and space in their work. This understanding actually prompted me to pay closer attention to the role of human figures within the different environments. Sorry, I'm a little bit lost. Give me some time. I'm afraid that I'm reading the repetitive content. Okay. So actually, after returning from London and going to an art residency in Mexico City, I noticed that the theme of movement, body walking, and landscape became even more prominent in my work. Indeed, I can say the London trip functioned as a foundation to take my research and practice one step further. For instance, these works that we are seeing are the work that, although I made in Mexico City, but are directed the result of my Shantz in London. Because as I mentioned before, it was about the walking and participating in the actual landscape physically. So this piece that you're saying, that how can I walk to the city center, is, I can say, definitely is related to that tree. So in this piece, I incorporated a ceramic wearable that extended my feet, creating sounds as I walked through a garden, reflecting on the act of walking as a form of art and protest, allowing me to connect my personal to a broader socio-political context. So the future direction, my practice, I can say, walking, observing, and engaging with the urban environment of London also has really heightened my awareness of the interconnectedness between body, displacement, and landscapes. This newfound understanding has pushed me to produce more immersive works that invited viewers to reflect on their own relationship with this new landscape. These are the pictures that I can say I randomly found them. However, I always just recorded my distance. I knew that where I'm going, whether it's at the last destination, but I didn't know what I'm going to encounter to. So this was one moment that I found this Regent Canal in London, which really was really interesting because there was a lot of life in the river, which takes me to another stage of talking. Just want to share that this is the picture that I found during that walking trip. So, and in conclusion, I just want to say that the Shantz Scholarship has been instrumental in shaping my practice trajectory from my most recent pieces, How Can I Walk to the City Center, which I showed you, to my ongoing piece titled For Marjan, which right now I'm doing in the studio, and another ongoing piece is called This Is a Very Regular Rose, exemplify the influence of my time abroad, highlighting the importance of the human figure within larger context and its connectivity with a larger landscape. I think I'm almost out of the time. And last but not least, I would like to share one of the sweetest moments of my Shantz trip with all of you while giving up this stage to Paige Smith, my cohort and my studio mate, my neighbor, every day here. Of course, this is gonna be the time that I spent with the moment that I'm sharing. This is the time that I spent with my two other cohorts, Brienne and Jordan, in London. I see you left your phone up here. I'm sorry. No, you're good. I'm just letting you. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm Paige Smith, and this is my Shantz presentation. So firstly, I want to thank the Keith and Wynne Shantz International Scholarship for the opportunity to study abroad and learn directly one-on-one from an artist. I also want to thank the department and Lois and Boyana, especially for helping me find my artist. Lois, me and Asde both had to, there was a lot of searching, so I really appreciated the help and the work because I really enjoyed my time and my artists so much. And I had the opportunity to travel to 4 different cities as part of my Shantz, so I just kind of organized my presentation chronologically as such. So before I met with my artist, because the order that we were going to be traveling with, I went to Europe on my own to see 2 cities I really wanted to visit. The first was Berlin. I've always wanted to go to Berlin for various reasons. So I went to Berlin and I saw a lot of amazing art. I went to a lot of different things. I'm a huge fan of Nancy Holtz. They had a Nancy Holtz retrospective while I was there. The Jewish Museum had an exhibition on Judaism and sexuality. That's where the Thank God I'm Gay is from. They were playing like one of the most amazingly stunning films, Metropolis, with a live orchestra while I was there. That was amazing to see. I saw a lot of stuff. I saw the Berlin Wall. There was a lot of historical stuff that was really important for me to see in regards to what I'm interested in my practice and just what I'm interested in. Yeah, it was an amazing time. I was there for a week. There's 5 pictures from that week. I also went to Venice to see the Biennale. I went for, I think, 4 days. And that was absolutely stunning. I've never been to something where that much art is that squished together. And it was actually one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Again, there was like so much I saw. There's so much art there. It was overwhelmingly, I feel like I'm still digesting everything I saw. It was amazing that I got to go there. And then from there, I went to Vienna. And this is where I met with my artist, Jelika Gita Black Sheik. Sorry, I always struggle with her last name. But yeah, we met in Vienna, and Jelika is an American artist of Croatian descent, and she was showing in Vienna as part of a group exhibition. So we met there, and I helped her for the first week. We were working together to put up that show. Jelika
I'll just explain, is a visual artist. This is how she describes herself: a visual artist, a filmmaker, and an educator who's interested in moving images, performativity of the archival practices, and countercultural histories. She uses a lot of analog lens-based media, so like photography, 16mm film, prints, and artist books to hone the tension, honor the tension between the personal and collective histories at the edges of erasure. So I was super fascinated with her practice. It was like lots of overlap in what she's interested in and what I'm interested in. And she's also just, when I had the meeting with her, she has just such a good energy to her. I was so excited to connect with her. So we were in Vienna, and then this was the show she was part of. It was at this gallery called like WUK. And the exhibition was curated around 4 different artists who were focused on collective future making and like the shared imagination. She had a bunch of different pieces showing as part of the exhibition. I'd say, yeah, like a big part of that was this short experimental film she made called Stitch the Ruin. But also she had a bunch of other types of works. So these were kind of like, we kept debating if they were paintings or not, but I think she calls them paintings. They're like, she takes these objects and then like sprays over them. But she also plays with different fabrics and different types of materials. And yeah, so we were there for like almost a full week, like figuring out the installation, like getting the colors of the wall, like we had to get all the work framed while we were there. We worked a lot, like very closely with the installation team. That's Julian. He became a very good Vienna friend. He's from Vienna. And then that's Rashmi, who was the curator, and she was American, and she came. The whole show was American artists. When we weren't doing installation, we were going and seeing art together. We went to a lot of different galleries in Vienna. Jellica had been to Vienna before, so she showed me a lot of really great stuff, like museums and galleries to go to. We also had a lot of fun. We like went exploring on lots of things. I won't play it. I don't want there to be audio. I just show you this funny gallery we went to. She had friends in Vienna that we got to meet and go on explorations with. This is like a funky apartment that turned into an exhibition space that we went to one night. Yeah, her friends showed us around. The friend on the bottom, we went to like a cool like student anarchist space. Like it was very cool. There was lots of cool stuff we saw. Yeah, and then we also had the show. So then this was like the opening for the gallery. So it's her work and 3 other artists' works. This was just the beginning of the opening. I also did a bunch of photography for the opening that I gave the images to. But this was like just to get the energy of it. So we did that. And then we traveled together to Rochester, New York, which is actually very close to here. And we were going there because Jellica was completing an artist residency with the visual studies workshop. I just here wanted to like emphasize Jellica a little bit more. So earlier I described how she described herself, but this is how I would describe her. She's one of the most generous, hardworking, and creative people I ever had the pleasure to work with. We spent so much time laughing together, playing, creating, working, making, fixing, installing, eating, talking, and more. Jellica gave me so many wise pieces of advice during our time together, but the biggest thing I learned from her was just witnessing how she carries herself every day as an artist. And I felt like I really got to see that during this like residency portion, because I just really got to see her making and creating process. So yes, the visual studies workshop, that's where the residency was. It's kind of a unique residency, I learned, because it's one person at a time. It's not like a group of artists all coming together. It's like they have a different resident each, like one resident per month throughout the whole year. So the Visual Studies Workshop, it was founded in 1969 and is one of the earliest examples of an artist-run non-for-profit space in America. They focus on experimental and expansive approaches to photography and media arts, and Jellica was selected to attend for their July residency. One of the biggest reasons, from my understanding, that she was interested in the residency was because she would gain access to this like huge research and arts collection that the workshop holds. They have over 1 million stills and moving images as part of their archive. It was also a fascinating art. So a lot of my work was working in the archive, finding things and processing things. And their archive is so odd. It's so higgledy-piggledy. It's so such an artist brain that organized that archive. We also got to go to the Kodak Museum, the George Eastman Museum, and we got to access their archive as well. And it was very interesting to see how a museum versus like an artist-run center organizes their archives. So yeah, I spent a decent amount of my time like digging through the archive with Shelika. But we also did a lot of other things. They have like a lot of facilities there. So we did some like darkroom experimentation. I learned how to do some new techniques in the darkroom that I hadn't done before. We also did some really funky things. We like experimented with like printing directly onto celluloid, which I'd never done before. Jellica also made like a kind of beginning of an artist book, or it's not the beginning, but it was kind of like the 1.0 version of an artist book she's developing. So I helped create that, bookbind it, like cut the papers, scanned a lot of things that ended up in the artist book. We filmed a bunch. I got to use the time to make some of my own art as well, and use the whole like the camera equipment and the facilities they had there to work on my own stuff, which was really fulfilling. And yeah, I don't know. It was amazing. Jellica's the best. Thank you so much to everyone. What was I going to say? I'm forever changed by this summer, both as an artist and a person. I seriously don't think I can go back to who I was before. It's already informing my practice, everything that I experienced and learned in the summer. And I just want to thank again the Keith and Wynne Shantz Scholarship, the Fine Arts Department, and to my friend and mentor, Jellica. He's done. Yay. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And then Anna.
Hey, so good afternoon, everybody. I want to begin by thanking Keith and Wynne Shantz for the opportunity and their continuous generosity through the Keith and Wynne Shantz International Research Scholarship. This opportunity allowed me to travel to London, England over the summer and work with a talented ceramic artist, Alma Burrow. So during my time in London, I had the privilege of immersing myself in Alma's unique approach to ceramics. I learned about her artistic process, explored her techniques, and gained valuable insight into her experiences with gallery representation and artist residencies that she's had. Today, I'm going to share key aspects of this internship, including what I learned, how this experience has shaped my artistic practice, and how it has shaped my artistic practice moving forward. So I want to start by sharing the fact that this was my first time traveling outside of North America, which was a significant milestone for myself. It made this journey all the more special for me. So I arrived in London on June 1st and stayed until July 1st. This month-long experience allowed me to immerse myself in new culture, environment, and broaden my perspective both personally and artistically. My first impression of the city was overwhelming in the best way. As I emerged from the tube, I caught a glimpse of the iconic London skyline, and I remember feeling a rush of excitement seeing landmarks like the London Eye and the River Thames. I spent my first day exploring nearby neighborhoods and enjoying the vibrant atmosphere, soaking in all the sights and sounds. It felt surreal to be in a city that I've dreamt of since I was a kid, and these first moments set the tone for what will become an unforgettable month. So I spent my first day exploring the city, but on my second day, I had the pleasure of meeting Alma Burrow and her studio mate, Tan Crady. From that moment we met, Alma was incredibly welcoming. Her warmth and openness immediately put me at ease, and I could tell that the month ahead was going to be truly an enriching experience. So over the following days, Alma and I delved into the intricacies of being a full-time artist. She opened up about the behind-the-scenes aspects of her practice, sharing how she manages the logistics of her work. We discussed how she keeps track of which pieces are currently in various collections, the process of creating new works for upcoming exhibitions, and the challenges of balancing studio time and handling emails, applications, and other administrative tasks. Alma shared her strategies for navigating the digital landscape, including how she effectively uses social media to showcase her work, engaging with audience, and building her brand. I found this insight to be invaluable as they highlight the balance between creativity and practicalities of running an artist business or an artistic business. So by being able to work with Alma in her studio for an entire month, I had the opportunity to witness the ceramic process from start to finish. She took me through some of the key elements that frequently appeared in her work, like dice, backgammon chips, and cigarettes in various stages of their life cycle. I learned how she formed these shapes, refined them, and guided them through their entire process, from cleaning, bisque, firing, and applying luster. So during our first week together, Alma encouraged me to freely explore different materials, emphasizing how crucial experimentation is in her creative process. She suggested I start brainstorming ideas for my own practice, which I would develop throughout the month. So this led me to fully embrace the process of trial and error, trying out different ceramic techniques and materials without the pressure of getting everything perfect on the first attempt. We also had in-depth conversations about my thesis work. Alma offered valuable feedback on how my concepts could evolve, where we could explore, and how the installation could either enhance or challenge my practice while moving forward. One of the most valuable lessons I learned from Alma was the importance of letting go of perfection and embracing the unexpected. I still really struggle with this, but this lesson was particularly relevant in ceramics, where the process, especially when it comes to glazing, introduces the element of unpredictability, especially with your first attempts. This freedom to play with materials and surrender control truly pushed me to experiment in ways in which I haven't before. And as Alma and I continued to explore different materials in her practice, she introduced me to a new medium, which is Adobe. She recently returned from an artist residency in Mexico City, where a fellow artist working with Adobe taught her all about the natural material. So for those who don't know, Adobe is a fermented grass, clay, soil, and natural fibers, which are put into a barrel with water, let to ferment, and then you're able to sculpt them into different sculptures without the need of a kiln. We decided to explore this new medium together. So over the course of the month, we researched the properties, ordered the supplies, fermented the batch, and sculpted the tester project. The materials were unlike anything I've worked with before. It was messy, smelly, and a bit of, it was completely organic, and it was very exciting to work with this. The experimentation later evolved into a larger project for Alma, where she collaborated with her sister Lucy, a professional chef, to turn her Adobe sculptures into a performance piece. So the fermented mulch was sculpted into a centerpiece, serving as the focal points for the dinner arrangement, alongside a beautiful meal prepared by Lucy. This performance took place during Alma's next artist residency the following month of July. So outside the studio, I immersed myself in the vibrant art scene of London, visiting at least one different gallery a day, and experiencing thousands of artworks that they host. Among the many unforgettable experiences was viewing Van Gogh's Two Crabs in the National Gallery. Standing in front of the painting felt surreal. It was incredible to be present with such an iconic piece in my life. Another delightful surprise was discovering of Martin Bass's Man Trapped Inside a Clock outside Paddington Station, which offered a playful and unexpected interaction. I didn't know that I was going to be in London. I just turned down the street and looked up and got to see this. So that was a very happy moment for me. So stumbling across this installation and visiting various art galleries became an integral part of my daily life in London. So as my time in London drew to a close, I want to take a moment to reflect on the incredible journey I had undertaken, the work I created during my month with Alma, and how it continues to inspire my artistic practice. The insight I gained will resonate throughout my entire art career. And I'm deeply grateful for Alma for granting me insider access to various art galleries and art gallery openings and exhibitions, including Alex Israel's Remember and Yoko Ono's Music of the Mind. I also would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to Keith and Wynn Shantz for their generous support, which made this opportunity possible. Their contributions will forever hold a place in my heart. I was fortunate enough to have my partner join me in London, where we continue to explore the city together at the end of the month. We then ventured to Scotland and Ireland for our first solo international trip together. This journey will always hold a special place in our hearts, especially as our time in London came to an end in our engagement. This experience was truly unforgettable and profoundly meaningful, and I will forever be thankful for the Shantz family for letting this be a part of our story. So thank you. And so the next person presenting today will be, so I will get her to come up here.
Hello, everybody. Just give me 1 second here to get my presentation. Okay. Thank you to everybody for being here. I'm just going to jump right into it. I can't see who's on Zoom, but I think that Anne is. So hi, Anne. Thank you for being here. So when I think about my experience in Lowell, one of the first things that comes to mind is this quote: "Looks like Massachusetts, but tastes like Phnom Penh." The reason why is because the area that I was staying in Lowell is actually Cambodia town, and it was described to me that way by Sakari Chow, who is America's first ever Cambodian-born mayor. And I met him at Kim's Donuts. That's where this picture is from. My first day in the city of Lowell. Sorry, I'm so nervous. I'm trying to calm down, but I'm just very nervous. So he quoted this line from an article written by Brian Ciccione about Lowell, and Sakari was so welcoming and gave me recommendations to his favorite restaurants, which really enriched my culinary experience while I was there, and also opened my eyes to the many varied cultures and histories that moved through the city of Lowell. So this is just the Cambodian town center with these beautiful sculptures that were brought over from Cambodia. So I found myself in Lowell because I wanted to work with Anne Eder. Anne is faculty at the Penumbra Foundation, a lecturer at Lewis Center for the Arts and Princeton, and an instructor at Harvard University. She's an interdisciplinary artist who exhibits, teaches, and participates in panels internationally. And Anne currently resides in Lowell, so that's where I went. These are just some images of Anne's work: a lumen print and an anthotype. From the moment that I arrived, Anne treated me with a lot of kindness, and we were very, very busy. Outside of showing me elements of her practice, helping her with production for public installation, and taking me along to events and workshops, experimenting and teaching me new techniques in her darkroom, we also shared meals together, got lots of coffee, talked, and walked her chihuahua, the Brain. The Brain! Yeah, he's pretty great. So since I won't be going through every single element of what I did, I'm going to briefly go through some of the highlights and share pictures. But before I get into that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about where it is that Anne currently lives. Lowell is an old mill town, which is known as the cradle of the American Industrial Revolution because of its textile industry and all of the mills and factories that were there. So a lot of them have been repurposed over the years. And one of those factories that has been repurposed is actually where Anne lives. It's known as Western Avenue. It's located on the Pawtucket Canal. It's a 5-building complex encompassing 265,000 square feet of converted mill space where industrial fabrics were manufactured. And now it includes many artist studio spaces, a cafe, a shop. This is one of the artist studio spaces, the live-in loft area. And it's just a very, very cool place in the middle of this industrial city, this little artist community. Not little, pretty big, actually. So before just one more important thing about my experience was the poetry and writing of Jack Kerouac, which gave me a renewed lens to view the city through. Because of his words and his lasting influence on the place where he was born, I paid more attention when I was in the city and experiencing the quieter parts of Lowell or Galloway, if you've read The Town and the City. Yeah, just the many graveyards, the secret sitting spots beside the canal where there's muskrats, and always looking over the Merrimack River. So these are just some more shots from the city. The public library was really amazing. I spent a lot of time there. Okay, so one of the first things that we did was we went to artist and biologist Natalie Andrews' house to harvest and juice skunk cabbage for making anthotypes. And her and her partner were so kind. Natalie showed me her kiln room that I think she made that cup. It's pretty amazing. She showed me some of her sculptural work. She has like a whole ceramics production happening in her basement. That's one of her insanely intricate and beautiful sculptures that I'm holding. She even gifted me a tiny sculpture, which was pretty incredible. And she also collected a lot of violets while we were at her house and gave them to us. And Anne and I made an emulsion for anthotypes that I processed, and we coated the paper while I was there. And I actually made an anthotype with those violets that Natalie collected from her home. And that's there. Anne brought me to the Harvard Ceramics Show and Sale, which was amazing. I saw lots of incredible work there. And while we were there, I went to the Harvard bookstore. I saw Harvard, but I didn't take any pictures while I was there, but it was very beautiful. I helped Anne construct sculptures, building armatures, coating and painting them for a public art display for Studio Without Walls in Riverside Park in Brookline. That's us, me cradling the little sculpture armature there. We spent a lot of time with those, and those are them installed in the park. These are just really cute photos from a bookstore that we went in Boston when we were there. I just needed to share this picture. So then we traveled by car to Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, which happens to be the mushroom capital of the world. That's me and the brain in the car. It was about a 7-hour car ride, so little road trip. And we went to Longwood Gardens in Kennett Square because Anne was teaching a lumen printing workshop. And there we were hosted by Anne's close friend Pandora. And I was so lucky to get a private tour of the gardens from her because she happens to be the senior land stewardship technician. And she's been working there since 2005. And I got to see a blooming century plant and also an incredibly fantastic light show with these fountains to the music of Dolly Parton. And on the left there is a picture of Pandora standing under a tree that she actually planted over 20 years ago. And these are images from the Lumen workshop, which was, we used all botanicals from the gardens. That was pretty great experience. So then we went back to Lowell. I went to the oldest tavern in Lowell, which it has this fan system that people travel to see because it's, I guess, really incredible, this old fan system. But supposedly Edgar Allan Poe stayed in the apartment that's upstairs while he was writing part of The Raven. So that's why they have their little raven there, and they made it through the Prohibition. It was a very cool place. I went to the New England Quilt Museum, which was also very, very incredible. There's lots of really beautiful work there. So I learned so much from Anne and her very extensive knowledge about alternative processes in the history of photography. She taught me some really incredible things. One of the first things we did was experiment with sodium alginate printing when I first got there, which is printing with kelp. Using natural materials to make phytogram prints on film. she's holding there sodium thiosulfate, which is like the original fixer. I just learned a lot from her in terms of processing. This is the plant developer that we use to make the phytograms. And then she showed me her process of gum bichromate printing, which I got extremely into and was very, very excited about, and spent quite a bit of time in her dark room doing that. She also had so many books, and they were incredibly amazing to look through, and I made a pretty great reading list while I was there. I traveled to Boston to visit galleries and museums. One of my favorite places that I went to was the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, where I saw some pretty great shows. The Korean Wave, Ancestors in Place, and I went to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, and I got to see some pretty incredible work when I was there. One of my favorite things was the Empty Frames by Sophie Calais, to represent the paintings that were stolen from the museum. There's like a Rembrandt, a Vermeer that were taken, and now these empty frames sit in their place, and I just really loved that work. So another thing that we did, one of the last things we did when I was there, was we went to Old Frog Pond Farm, which is owned by Linda Hoffman. It's a certified organic orchard in Harvard, Massachusetts. And I helped Anne install some of her work there. And I got to see more of her sculptures in various states of decomposition. And I also got to see some other pretty great work while I was there. This is the Olympic Bell by Paul Matisse. And it was first installed in Athens during the 2004 Olympics, but now it lives here. I have this little video just so you can see how great it looks in the forest there. Oh, you can hear it a little bit, but it's pretty magical. So I ended my time with Anne and Lowell taking my first Harvard ceramics class, experimental photography on clay, in person, and then I continued online when I returned home. And I'm going to end where I started at Kim's Donuts. And there's so much more that I could say about my time, but I will say that I truly appreciated my time with Anne, and I know that I will continue to unpack and learn from it and look back on it for many years. And I would like to offer my sincerest thank you to the Keith and Winshon Scholarship Fund for making this trip possible. Thanks for listening. I will turn things over to Yan.
My name is Brienne. I also went to London along with Azadeh and Jordan, and I worked with an amazing artist named Susan Eldworth. So my first day in London, Susan sent me elaborate directions to her house from my Airbnb. I just took the mouse. She sent me detailed instructions to get to her house from my Airbnb, to her place in Hackney. And on my journey to her house, she sent me this lovely text that says, "Okay, excellent. Ring me when you get on the bus, and I'll come and meet you at the bus stop when you're getting off. The adventure begins." And it was an incredible adventure. She was just as excited to see me and start this amazing internship. From walking from the bus stop to her house, she gave me a tour and brief history lesson of the area, welcomed me in, offered me tea, which there was no shortage of, and we proceeded to talk for 6 hours. We got to know each other very well. She treated me to lunch that day, and we developed a schedule for the next 6 weeks. So I met her studio assistants, her cat, Nelly and Frida Kahlo. Frida is the one with the white bib, and then this is Nelly. At first, Nellie didn't, I mean, not Frida, sorry. Nellie was very sweet. Frida did not like me. They were sisters, but later on, Frida did warm up. When picking my artist for my Shantz, I wanted to my artists to embody three things. I wanted them to be an educator, someone that works with internal imagery of the body, or works in healthcare, and someone that works in a different medium than I do, so that I can learn. Susan was the perfect match of all three. She's a professor at Central St. Martin's. She's a printmaker, and she works with internal scenes of the body. So this is Frida after a month of working together. And she's very, very, very sweet and loving. And she's wherever my Susan is, that's where Frida or Nellie is. We worked together in Susan's beautiful print studio. Susan's work got accepted into the Royal Academy, and we needed to make a series of 6 prints. So the work that was accepted is called Modern Alchemy, and it's the print right in the center here. And they're metal etched plates with the use of gold leaf. This is Susan showing me how to properly ink a plate, but my my focus was distracted. So the first couple weeks, well, the first week that I was with Susan, I worked on her archive. So it took about 4 days, and I took hundreds and hundreds of photos. And it was incredible to see the background behind making an incredible body of work. Later on, I found out that this archival work, Susan wanted it to be done for a while, and I'm glad that I was there to help her out, and it was done within 4 days. So this is one of the last sketchbooks that I photographed. It was at the very bottom of the drawer, and when I came across this page, it was the very last page in the book. It says, it's from February 10th, 2001. Sometimes I wonder the value of being an artist weighed against a doctor saving lives. It's all in a day's work. When I read this, it fully encapsulated what I've been trying to explain and what I think about as working as a healthcare worker. How is my life as an artist compared to someone who's literally saving lives? I told Susan about it, and we had a very in-depth conversation. Something that I've wanted to express in my thesis, when in reality, it was in a sketchbook on the very last page in the bottom of a drawer in someone's house in Hackney. These are my Airbnb hosts. I won big time. So their names are Jason and Elena. They're a recently married couple, and they were renting out one of their extra rooms in their house to Airbnb. And they were lovely. Jason is a professional axe thrower, and he grew up in Mississauga, which is the same area that I was born and raised in, and then later moved to Cambridge. So he lived in all of the areas that I am, that we are right now. And Elena works in creative spaces. Part of her job is to hire artists to take over this space. So at the end of the day, after they've come home from their busy lives, we've all talked and make dinner together and talk about how our days went. And it was incredible. It turned into how are you? How was your day? To like hours and hours and hours long conversations. We'd both go to bed at like after 1 o'clock in the morning. We ended up here because I asked them what do they recommend for fish and chips, and they offered to take me out to one of their favorite spots. It's called Wicked Fish, and it was great. It was amazing. It was incredible. I really miss them. The next time I go back, I'm going back to stay with them. If you know me, you know that I love food. And there was no shortage of food in England, but I wanted to find things that were memorable, things that were really, really delicious. From left to right, Wagamamas. Right to left, Wagamamas. This is a cafe called, I don't remember, but it's somewhere in East London. And then this is Pophams. But this does not compare to Susan's food. Susan cooked for me every lunch that we worked together. She took care of me, and her food was always a 10 out of 10. I still think about her minestrone soup which is the one on the far end. And she says it's a suit that will make you live to 100. She also treated me after long days of work, and there was no shortage of conversation. We could easily talk for hours without having felt that amount of time. We were sitting at Gail's here after our first week, and she mentioned, I want to say yes to things in my life that are interesting. Like, look at us. We just had a 20-minute long conversation on Zoom, and here you are. I've taken that risk to come work with me. I've told her multiple times throughout this entire internship that I'm so lucky to have this opportunity to work with you. And she would respond with one of two answers. Either, no, I'm the lucky one. You could have picked anyone in the world and you picked me. Or she said, you haven't met the bad side of me yet. We went on private views, we went on gallery tours. And this is a private view of in the Hampton Court Palace of the work from the Royal School of Needlework Academy. The students who are shown here were doing a BA in hand embroidered work. So everything is all hand done. She used to teach at this school, and she wanted me to tell you all that she lives here. The Hampton Court Palace is also where Bridgerton is filmed. So this is a beautiful garden space that I took a photo of from one of the windows where all of the work was displayed. And she's showing me around the place where she lives. Azadeh joined us one day for a printmaking show of David Hockney and Cornelia Parker, in which that day Azadeh took over my Susan for me, asking her all the questions and everything. And it was such a lovely experience. I'm so glad that Azadeh got to meet my artist. However, after this day, I got very sick. So for 4 days, I had a fever, sore throat that got worse, intense pain in both of my ears, a headache that wouldn't leave, and I got to the point where I didn't want to eat anything. I lost, the day that I went to the hospital, I lost all hearing in my right ear. I was coughing up blood, and I went to the hospital closest to Azadeh, in case anything were to happen. I was diagnosed with a bilateral ear infection and a throat infection. I was given antibiotics, and I felt better. My hearing came back after 1 hour of the first dose. And all I wanted to eat was ice cream. So my goal from finding the best food in London, then switched to finding the best ice cream in London. While being sick, Susan cared for me as well as Lois, Sharon, Adam, and my mother. Susan was always checking in on me every day, and I was in constant email communication with Lois, Sharon, and Adam as they would send me emails around 6 a.m. their time. I wanted to express my appreciation, and I want to say thank you all. I felt very loved and cared for. I found my love for pistachio. It was the best. Perfectly nutty, sweet, and savory. Ice Cream Union in Chelsea had the best ice cream, which is this one right here. It's worth all of £7. Becoming sick did throw a dent in my plan as I wanted to travel. There was a couple days off where Susan had a planned vacation, and I wanted to go to Venice to also see the Biennale, or maybe Berlin for a few days. But because of this, I decided to stay in London. Instead, I visited many museums from Susan's recommendations. I went to the Hunterian Museum, the Old Operating Theatre. The Hunterian Museum is showcased the history of medicine, surgery, and human medical conditions. They had a showcase of human and animal specimens showing different conditions and diseases. The Old Operating Theatre shows how surgeries were performed. No anesthesia, having an audience over 100 medical students watching. So this is the Old Operating Theatre. The person being operated on would be in the center. And then on that side is the Hunterian Museum filled with specimens. I also booked some classes on my week off. So I took a 2-day etching course. It was very, very intense. I etched a metal copper plate and a zinc plate, and I still use them both today in my practice. That's the class that everyone signed up for. This is me creating my copper plate along with some of the students. Half of the class were retired women and half the class were youngins like myself. So it was kind of like a fight for the professor, for the teacher. But it was fun. We had a good time. I also booked a couple jewelry making classes. I made a pair of stacked silver rings and a personalized ring made of wax. So this photo was my class. The professor is, well, the teacher is the one in the dress. And then this guy in the black made engagement rings for him and his partner. And I've never felt more single in my life. So this is the wax ring that I ended up making. I actually took it with Jordan, but it was 3 hours of pure stress because you only had this time to carve your ring. You don't know what it's gonna look like, and it ended up being shipped to us. So that's what it looked like in the end. And I have it on my finger if anyone wants to see it. I attended a talk with Tracy Eamon and her student showcasing from her residency program that she was running. Her student, Bianca Raffaella, is a painter who is visually impaired, and it was incredible to watch this conversation between the two of them. It was an hour long, and after the conversation, everyone got up and was talking towards Tracy and her student, and I thought, now is my chance. So I took a photo with Tracy, I introduced myself, and I said, hi Tracy, my name is Brianne, I'm doing an MFA in Canada. You're such an inspiration to me, can we take a photo? And all she said was, yeah, and that's that. That was the whole interaction. She's unapologetically Tracy. Towards the end of my internship, I attended Susan's student symposium. So Susan teaches at an MA level at San Jose Martins, and all of her students' work was installed, and they gave a presentation each to explain their theses. During my last week with Susan, we booked a day to work at the Cohen Print Studio. She was teaching, or she was doing one-on-ones with students, whereas I was printing. I printed my beautiful etch plates that I made in the class that I took. And I met lots and lots of lovely people. And the studio itself is very, very beautiful. So on my last day with Susan, she treated me to fish and chips. But I would argue that wicked fish was better. And bought her lovely Portuguese egg tarts, and we talked about the incredible journey that we went on together. Every time that we buy egg tarts, we promised each other that we would send a photo to each other. So to commemorate my time with Susan, I bought an egg tart, and I will eat it at the very end of my presentation. It's a dessert that will always remind me of her. I had such an incredible time with Susan, and I would like to thank the Keith and Wynn Shantz internship for giving me this amazing transformative experience. I learned a lot about life, what it takes to become an artist, and I will always remember this forever. Thank you. And I promise that I will see you again someday.
Good job, everybody. So it's about 10 to 1 or so. And so we have a little bit of time left. If anyone has any questions for any of our graduate students, there's still pizza and stuff like that in the hallway. So you want to grab something to eat, and we can just continue the conversation if you'd like.
Question?
Questions in chat? Oh, okay. Tim, you take over. You take over. Will we stop recording or keep going? Oh, yeah. So somebody's got a question in chat.
So Anne said, great job, Cree. You didn't seem nervous at
Oh. It's true, you didn't.
Oh.
You didn't at all. No. Okay. Would anyone like to ask any questions or? All good? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you for coming.